Okay, I was waiting for
Back,
the
right? Just,
disqualification.
yes, I'm coming back, don't worry. She did come back.
Good evening. I'm going to call the meeting of March 10th, 2026 to order. Clerk, please do a roll call.
Will be noted.
Before we proceed, I'd like to ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence to honor Master Sergeant Nicole Amor. She was more than a soldier in uniform. She was a daughter, a wife, a mother, and a friend. We remember her courage, her sacrifice, and her ultimate price she paid for our country. Today we stand with heavy hearts and deep gratitude. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor Master Sergeant Amor and to support her family. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody, and people on TV, welcome to you as well. Item 2A, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 24th, 2026? And we've got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes approve. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the City Council work session on February 24th, 2026?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3, we're going to adopt the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. Item 4, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have a consent agenda. All right, item 5, visitors and presentations. We have nothing scheduled today. Item 6, public hearings. Item 6A, we have an issuance of the general obligation street reconstruction bonds and 5-year street reconstruction and overlay plan. Ms. Kinsvater.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Tonight I'm here to talk about the 2026 A bond issue that we're beginning to work on with the council's acceptance of the project's feasibility and ordering of the plans and specifications at your last meeting. So just as a brief overview, Minnesota statutes chapter 475 authorizes cities to issue obligations to finance projects. And then other parts of the state law give us direction on the bonds that we can issue for the different types of projects. So when it comes to doing street projects, there's 2 different types of bonds that we could issue. There's general obligation improvement bonds that are under Chapter 429, and there's general obligation street reconstruction bonds that are in Chapter 475. So the difference between these two, they both can work to finance a street project. The difference comes down to special assessments. So under Chapter 429, when you look at the total project costs, when there are special assessments related to that project, the special assessments must be at least 20% of the total project costs. And then when we look at the street reconstruction bonds, those are the bonds that you would issue if the special assessments are less than 20%. So historically, the city has issued general obligation improvement bonds to finance our projects because our special assessments have been greater than the 20% of the total project costs. In the case for the 2026A project, it's the residential street project that is adjacent to the downtown area. The special assessments are less than that 20%. So we are going to issue the street reconstruction bonds this year. So the things that are the same between the two bond issues is that the city is pledging its full faith and credit towards the bond payment, and the special assessments are calculated the same. The only thing the one part that's different as we go through the street reconstruction bond is that we create a 5-year capital improvement plan, which would talk about the street reconstruction and overlay plan projects that could be refinanced for the next 5 years. So the plan needs to be discussed at a public hearing, and that's what we're doing tonight. So in the public hearing, we are not talking about the project. The public hearing is about the use of bonds to finance the project. So the City Council's approval of the 5-year plan does not automatically approve every project that's listed on that document. Each project will go through the standard City Council approval process, and then we will choose the best, once it's approved in our years, we'll choose the best financing mechanism for it. So whether, if it qualifies that the special assessments are over 20%, we'll use the improvement bond mechanism. And then if it's less than 20%, we would use the street reconstruction bonds. And by doing this one public hearing and talking about the plan now, then we would not have to do a public hearing in the next 5 years over this project. So when we look at the bonds, Ellers, our municipal advisor, prepared a preliminary debt service schedule for planning purposes for the 2026A street reconstruction bonds. The par amount that we would issue the bonds for in our estimate is $1,805,000. The bonds would have a 15-year life and an estimated true interest cost of 3.594%. So that is based on the market rate for bank qualified bonds with issuers that have a AA+ rating as of February 24th. And then 5 basis points, or 0.5%, is added on as an estimate, just for any market changes that might occur between now and then when we actually issue the bonds. So kind of have a cushion in there for that. The financing plan includes the special assessment component for the property owners that are benefiting from the pavement project. The special assessments will have a 15-year life, so it will be the same life as what the bond issue would have. And the plan calculation anticipates collecting $264,500 in assessments, which the city will combine the special assessments that it collects with the tax levy to pay the annual debt service payment on these bonds. When we look at the debt service run that Ellers prepared, the annual tax levy for a 15-year term will range between $141,000 and $146,000. And the 2027 tax levy will increase that $141,800, which would be a 0.94% increase from what the 2026 tax levy was. So under 1% increase on that. So given all of that, staff recommends that City Council hold a public hearing to talk about this 5-year street reconstruction and overlay plan, and then approve that plan and preliminarily approve the issuance of the bonds. And also authorize city staff to work with Ellers for the 2026A general obligation bond sale and participate in preparation of the official statement for the bond issue. We do have Stacy Kilvane from Ellers with us at this meeting tonight to answer any questions you may have regarding the bond issue.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Kinsvater, two things. I didn't hear, so we're using a different statutory authority for issuing, but I didn't hear any changes in the pricing of those bonds. We go through a normal bid process. There aren't any other special kickers or benefits or anything like that. It's the same bidding process. We put the offer out, firms bid on it, we collect the lowest bid. Same process. Am I right in that, or am I missing something?
Mayor, Councilmember Edberg, you are right. There is no difference on that. So it will all be the same on how the bond issue is. We'll prepare our official statement that will be released. They'll have the bid process for the bonds and then have the sale.
Okay. And then in your description, your introduction, you identified some parameters around who we anticipate being, I wasn't clear whether it was who we assume are going to bid or who is eligible to bid. And that caught my ears differently. I don't recall hearing that in previous years when we've issued. Is that something new, something unique, or it's always been there and I just haven't been aware of that before?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Edberg, there is no change to that because we're issuing less than $10 million of bonds, then that would be bank qualified. And so having a bank qualified issue, the banks can bid on them, and that's typically when we have more bidders and get a better interest rate.
And we have done that in the past.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, in fact, relatively recent past.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Got it, thank you, thank you.
Anyone else?
I know you said this, but just to reiterate, and maybe for people watching at home too, this is approving the financing tonight, but not the actual project plan, correct? Or if we could elaborate.
Mayor, members of the council, that is correct. This is just the financing portion of the project. Any decisions made on the public hearing for the actual street project components will be held at the March 24th meeting. Notices were mailed out last week to all affected property owners. They will have the opportunity, or staff will have the opportunity to present the project elements, and residents will have an opportunity to speak for or against the project at that March 24th meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one more question. We are nowhere close to using all of our bonding authority. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Edberg, that is correct. I'm trying to think.
I
don't have the
numbers.
exact number, but we have a significant amount, yes.
Yes, okay, fine. Thank you.
All right, any further questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public hearing. There's no one on the list. Anyone in the audience like to come up and speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Kinsvater. And oh, right. So council has a resolution in front of us. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the resolution passes. Thank you. All right. Item 6B, the first reading of an ordinance amending the city charter regarding special elections, and we have Chair Ani here to do that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. At our annual September meeting, the Charter Commission was made aware of a potential conflict between our charter and state statute regarding special election dates. Specifically, our charter sets forth a timeline for the administration of special elections that has the potential to conflict directly with state statute. State Statute 205.10 Subdivision 3A lists 5 possible dates for special elections: the second Tuesdays of February, April, May, and August, and the general election day in November. Additionally, state statute also says that a home rule charter city must not designate additional dates in the charter. in its charter. Now, sections 4.04 and 4.12 of our charter give a timeline for special elections. In summary, the city clerk gives legal notice in the official newspaper within 15 days of a vacancy. There's a filing period for the vacancy of 10 calendar days from the date of the legal notice. The special municipal election shall occur within 15 to 20 days after the close of filing. And if there are more than 2 candidates, there will be a primary followed by an additional election 14 days later. And while it is possible to have a scenario calling for a special election that would align with one of the 5 dates designated in state statute, such a scenario is unlikely to be that convenient. For example, a June 1st vacancy, according to our city charter, we would be looking to have an election mid-July, whereas the next uniform election date, according to state statute, would be the second Tuesday in August. So the Charter Commission asked city staff to refer this matter to the city attorney to get their input. We reconvened on December 10th to review the recommendation of the city attorney, who strongly advised us to amend the charter to avoid conflict with state statute. And the Charter Commission voted 10-1 to recommend the proposed amendment that I'm here to share with you tonight to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Ani? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Mayor. So does the statute control both the primary and the election, or just the election dates? Because if we're going to have a primary and followed by a general election, we're not going to hit those 5 dates, I don't think, under the, how does that work?
That is an excellent question. In the memorandum from the city attorney, it's not 100% clear, but seemed very likely that a primary in the eyes of the state would be considered an election and would have to conform to one of these election dates. So in that, if there were a primary, we would be, in the example I gave, the primary would be in August, and the election after that would be on the date in November. So we would use those 5 dates if there were a situation involving a primary.
So we could go without filling that vacancy for some months, not weeks.
Yes, and to that point, that was an issue that the Charter Commission spent a significant amount of time discussing, and ultimately decided that it was worth it to adhere to the state statute.
And does that statute apply to anything other than elections for filling vacancies? If we had a public question that if we had a question that we wanted to put to the public, would that advisory referendum, not an election per se, but their voting experiences, does the statutes apply to those as well?
My understanding is yes, it would.
It does, yeah. It's in 20510 of state statute, and that includes questions to voters, which they're authorized by law or charter to pass judgment on, including referendums and those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Councilmember Walsh.
Well, I don't think it's a question. I'm a little surprised by that interpretation on the primary election. And I'm not prepared to dispute it, I guess, but it doesn't really square. I mean, like, if you have a legislative vacancy, for instance, and I know it's spelled out in law a little better, a little more detail, but the special election, for instance, legislative special elections have to occur if you're in session within 30 days. There's very specific. The primary has always been like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks before. If there needs to be a primary, it'll be 2 weeks before. It's been kind of a tag along to the election. So this is really elevating the primary to like its own election. It just surprises me, I guess. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like, it's not smooth. I mean, the primary should be closer to the general election. First, we should just narrow the candidates down, and then pretty quickly afterwards, not June to November or July to November, whatever it would be. I guess, what's the last date? August? I mean, that's a long gap between a primary election and a general election. I guess that's the gap, but in the state elections, that's the gap right now. Our primary election's in August and the general election's in November. So I guess it seems in filling a vacancy, it's more of a special election. I guess it doesn't feel so special if we have to wait that long, I guess. So I don't know what to do about what I'm saying. I'm just saying it just doesn't quite, I'm surprised at that interpretation, I guess. I don't know if you've got any more research on that, Mr. Attorney.
Yeah.
So Mayor and Council, I mean, it's a good point. To be honest, the statutes are generally written around, I don't want to say generally written around, but many of them kind of think through the process statutory cities take. They don't have primary elections. Primary elections are somewhat rare in the municipal sense. That doesn't mean charter cities don't have them. Of course, we have them in White Bear Lake. One thing that we have to take into account when it relates to any election, and I know staff knows this, but we have to get a lot of coordination and cooperation with the county. They handle those elections for us. What I can tell you is they're going to be unwilling to hold any kind of an election on a date that doesn't meet those uniform election dates. They're just not equipped to do that. So, and quite frankly, a primary election is considered a special election because there's such thing as special primaries.
Yep.
And to Councilmember Edberg's point, it's true that it would be months before you'd fill a vacancy. That may be an unfortunate situation, but it's not like the council can't operate shorthanded. Councils operate shorthanded often. And some cities, statutory cities, I should say, are required to fill vacancies prior to the next regular election when they have to hold a special election. But there's no rule about when they have to do that. And oftentimes they just kind of sit and say, we're just going to let the vacancy be there because we don't want to go through the process, spend the time to appoint somebody for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months when we know there's going to be a special election in November. That may be right, that may be wrong. That's a policy call for any individual council. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not the end of the world that you might have, a handful of months with a shorthanded council. Now, if 2 or 3 people resigned, it'd be a different situation. Hopefully that never happens. But I assume the reason this issue just came up recently, even though the uniform election dates were adopted into state law in 2017, is because we're lucky in White Bear Lake and we don't have to deal with a lot of vacancies and filling those vacancies. So again, this is all just really intended to try to align the statutory provisions with our charter and make sure that we can comply with both of them, because I do think if we had to fill a vacancy today, we'd have to, state law would control and we'd be kind of ignoring our charter language because we'd have to. And so this is really an attempt to, again, bring those two things into lockstep and make sure that they're consistent.
Thank you. So just for clarification, the reason why we have to do this is because the state changed the dates in 2017, and back then it didn't align with our charter. So we're not.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, they did
It's
change.
not just something we've decided to do.
Correct, yeah, the statute
Okay.
changed about 9 years ago, a little
Okay.
less than that, and since then, our charter language has just conflicted with that.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Oh, Councilmember Walsh.
I'm just brainstorming. I'm not advocating necessarily, but I just asked the attorney, as a charter school, as a charter city, can we change our charter to a point? Are we prohibited from like a statutory cities can do? Can we send the charter commission back to the woodshed and say, all right, come up with an appointment strategy? So if there is a vacancy, the council could, if we wanted to, fill it by appointment.
You certainly could. The charter does control how vacancies are filled, and you can amend the charter to align with state statute. What I would offer, maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, depending on the policy. What I would offer is that I think benefit to what statutory cities have at their disposal is the way the statute for filling vacancies is written is they never have to hold an election outside of the regular November election dates. I know special elections can be expensive, they can be time consuming, it's a lot of work for staff. And so it's very convenient for statutory cities to not have to coordinate special elections around dates that aren't, in alignment with that November election date. In this case, if you're filling a vacancy, you're actually going to have to hold 2 special elections, because if there's enough candidates, because you'd have the primary and the special election, which sort of doubles the cost. I don't know what it costs to hold an election, but I just know it's, kind of creates a lot of work for staff, and there's a financial burden as well. Now, that said, there is some benefit to having your own process, and some charter cities certainly appreciate the independence, if you will, of being able to determine what that process looks like.
Can we really put a price on democracy and freedom and representation? Yes, we can.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Walsh, to that point, that was part of the discussion, was if an appointment would be preferable to going the special election route. And ultimately, to the point on democracy, we thought that if a ward had lost its council member and didn't have that representation, it would be more in the ward's residents' best interests to be able to vote on who would be representing them than to have an appointment be made. So that was part of the discussion.
I'm glad to hear you discussed it. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Councilmember Edberg.
That's right. And what was the assessment of the value of an appointment? Where did the commission land in thinking, pros, cons? Is there any wisdom that you have that suggests a value of some element of appointment, maybe not permanent, maybe it's an interim, I don't know. But did you reach any conclusions as a commission on that?
Essentially, just that having an election would be the best route, would be preferable to having an appointment.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to open the meeting to the public hearing. Is anybody in the audience? There's no one on my list. And seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And thank you, Mr. Ani.
Just for those that are watching, so this was the first reading of the ordinance. The second reading of the ordinance will occur on March 24th. And at that time, then the council may consider adopting said ordinance. But we've conducted the first reading tonight and held the public hearing. So thanks.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming, Chair Ani.
And just, can I jump one?
Yes.
Mayor? One other point of clarification that's good for folks to be reminded of too is that it does require an affirmative vote of all members of the city council. So if anyone's thinking about playing hooky next time, please be here so we can have our second reading, because it obviously causes confusion when we're shorthanded. But again, it's worth pointing that out because there is a 5-0 vote requirement for adoption of the ordinance amending the charter.
All right, thank you. All right.
Bargaining power might a member have?
Yeah.
To be clear, we may conduct the second reading on March 24th.
Yes.
It may not be adopted.
Correct.
Unless there's
Yes.
5.
Right.
And you're not going to send the marshals out to round up
No, we may
members?
require a special election, though.
All right, thank you all.
Put some arrest in this body.
Okay, item 7, unfinished business. We have nothing scheduled tonight. Item 8, new business. We have nothing scheduled tonight. Item 9, discussion. We have nothing scheduled tonight. And item 10, communications from the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just so everyone is aware, Mayor Klosky and I will be at the Capitol tomorrow, attending the League of Minnesota Cities Day on the Hill. So we have a couple of meetings scheduled with our senator and our representative, and we'll hear from everybody at the league and all that stuff. So we have our legislative priorities agenda printed out and ready to go, and So we'll be down there all day into the evening tomorrow, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford. And I had the Regional Council of Mayors yesterday, which I heard the league talk about their legislative, so I'll get another one, so I'll be really versed in it. And last week, we didn't have a lot, I read a lot to Matoska Elementary and Birch Elementary and Willow. So I got to see how great our schools are and got to see all the kiddos. They're doing great. I was just so impressed with the questions they had and how well behaved they were while the mayor is reading a book. I mean, it was really impressive. So that was really fun. Does anybody else have any updates or things they did last week that they'd like to share? Councilmember West.
Yeah, I did a tour of our public works. It is incredibly impressive, the amount of types of things that Public Works does that is, it just gets done and we don't really notice it. We would notice it if it didn't get done. And the way they take care of things and manage financially to fix things and maintain them and, I don't know, MacGyver things, it's really impressive. And I was able to get into a snowplow, which is really high up there. If you didn't know, they're very tall.
Yes. And it's snowing right now, so they'll get to use it tonight, too, maybe.
So, hopefully.
Yeah, so we'll see. Anybody else? Nope. All right, then I'm going to do a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.